We're going to Florida to Disney this summer.
Florida? Mom, that's where winter is!
Winter? What's that?
I don't know, some dolphin or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, come
Apparently there's a dolphin here.
5 minutes of the Otter Oasis will be our North American River Otter presentation. There you can learn all about these otters. It'll take place on the second level, right next to the winter zone. Again, 5 minutes. Dolphin over.
Excuse me, do you work here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I drove like 1,200. Well, first of all, we flew. Right? We flew in here from New York about 10 minutes. It's like I don't even want to tell you, because first it was going to be LaGuardia, then Kennedy, then LaGuardia, then Kennedy. So finally we leave from Kennedy. We get there, and when we got to drive in Orlando in this tiny little car, it's about 18 people smashed into this car. We get over here, it's 100,000 degrees, and I'm supposed to see this dolphin winter. Where is he? He's not even here.
She's always right over there in the winter zone.
No, she's not. What's a winter zone?
Right in those 3 pools. One of those 3 pools, she's always in one of
I
those.
was just over there. I did not see him. I saw dolphins.
She's always right.
I'm not even crazy about dolphins. But I was there, and I did not see him.
She is always in one of those. Hope, Panama, Winter, always in one of those 3 pools. They just move them around.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go look again.
All right.
Holy cow. So we've all met that customer, yeah?
Yes.
That guest. And that's okay. But what was wrong with the interaction, other than the fact that it was pretty fun? What did he do? He ignored me, right?
He didn't take you over there.
He didn't take me over there.
Right.
He was pointing. Very good.
He's kind of rude.
He was kind of rude.
He didn't tell you the story of winter.
He didn't tell me the story of winter. That's right.
He didn't cut his hair.
He didn't tell me.
He didn't seem very happy to be working here.
He was distracted, that's for sure. He was very busy, and we all are, right? We're very, very busy. And really, the idea here is when you're dealing with guests or with anybody who has that agenda coming into it, they had some legitimate gripes, all right? I mean, they were tired, they were hot, they've been traveling for a long time with a family cramped in a car this big, right? So they finally get here. They had expectations about where winter was and what winter was and how they were going to be able to see this magical dolphin. And the main problem was they were not being listened to, right? And so really, we don't have time today to go through a whole big training about how to deal with disgruntled guests. But if there's one thing I can get across to everybody, and hopefully it'll help out, is just some tips on what's called empathic listening. Has anybody heard that before? Empathic listening? Does it know who it's from? Covey, right? It's Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the 5th habit is seek first to understand, then be understood. That's what people who are upset, no matter what the situation is, they want to feel listened to. Those needs have to be met before you get into the practical need of where's winter, right? And so I'm just going to give you some tips. And then later on, if you want, we can explore it further in another time. I'm going to put them up on the website, too. We have a website. Woohoo! And anybody been to the website?
Which one?
Good. Oh, I'm sorry. The hospitality website. Yeah, the hospitality website. Or any website. Have you ever been to any website ever? Yeah, there's this thing called the interwebs. It's really cool. Now, we have a hospitality website. We'll give you the address. So it's a great way to communicate back and forth. And the cool thing is there's a feedback button. So any ideas that you guys might have, throw it back to us too. And we will give it to Ponytail Boy over here and he'll help. All right, so a couple of tips. These are real because they're on paper. Okay, number 1, give your full attention. When you're listening to somebody that's upset, this is not the time to multitask. It's probably the one time. Very good. Make eye contact. That's the second one. Body language. You want to make eye contact. You want to nod. You want to smile. You want to make sure that they know that they're being listened to. That's the whole thing. Don't interrupt them. That's probably the hardest thing. As soon as someone says some problem that you know you can solve, your natural reaction is to jump right in. Oh, okay. I'm going to stop listening to you now because I can solve your problem. Winter's over here. So don't do that. Just let them vent. That's what they need to do. We have to diffuse the situation. Let them get it all out. Encourage them to elaborate. Let them get it out. So don't interrupt them to explain, to teach, to do any of that stuff. And then finally, you might even want to try using some language to reflect back, to let them know that you understand it. So using some phrases that kind of rephrase whatever it is that they're upset about. Like, it seems to me, or from what I understand, or let me see if I got this right. You're saying this. So that slows it all down. That brings them back down to a calmer level. At that point, then you can finally address whatever it is that's bothering them. Does that make sense at all?
No.
Beautiful. Yes, Tommy?
I was going to say, I used to teach the Dale Carnegie sales course, and one of the key words is, I understand how you feel.
Right.
Because people want people to think that, they feel the pain.
It's
It's
true.
very powerful. I mean, it's exactly what you said.
That's great. And it's important to empathy. That's what empathy means, right? There's a difference between empathy and sympathy, right? Sympathy means you feel the same way. We don't want to feel the same way. That would be horrible, wouldn't it? It's like, well, this place sucks. I'm really hot, and I can't find winter. And, if you were going to sympathize, then yeah, you know what? You're right. No, you don't want to go there.
However, with empathy, you may have felt that way before.
Right. That's true. Good point. All right, so let's try this again real quickly. Only we'll do it with a little more empathic listening. And lights.
Yeah, Anna, no problem. No problem. Anna, I see you look a little lost.
Well, yeah, because I came... First of all, I got to turn my hearing aid down. Second of all, it's because I drove all the way from New York, and then we flew into Kennedy, LaGuardia, Kennedy, so I made it here from Orlando to 250 people in the car this big. And I don't know, I'm supposed to find Winter. I can't find Winter. He's here. Where is he? I don't know where he is. And the kids want to see the dolphin. And I got a little cough. It's just very hot, and I'm very tired, and I just want to see Winter to show the kids where he is. And I was over there, and I can't find him.
No problem. I'll take you right over to her. She's from New York?
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't that obvious?
Whereabouts?
From Long Island.
Long Island. Oh, you guys had a real mild winter this year.
Yeah, it was nice. But we're here now, and it's nice, it's beautiful.
So you're having trouble finding winter?
Yeah, I couldn't find him.
Oh, okay, it's no problem. We always keep winter.
You're a nice fellow.
Well, thank you.
I would like to write you a check.
So the two things that David is trying to explain is we obviously want to treat all of our guests with the respect that they deserve because they are here supporting our mission. There have been a few things going on of late. For those of you that have been members or team members of the aquarium for many years, you've seen that our audience has changed a little bit. And we want to remember one thing, and I think Frank will back me up this 100%. Team members deserve respect too. And anytime there is an incident where you are being disrespected by a guest, you are to immediately contact myself or Maddie, and we will take care of the situation. We don't want to see any of you being disrespected, so that's very important as well. And we are going to give you guys our phone numbers and our email so that you'll have access to get a hold of us right away at any time, or just find a hospitality person, because that's very important, and apparently there have been some situations regarding that. Also situations, who's been here when somebody's fainted? Who's been here when somebody's fallen down and go boom? And it's happening a lot because we have a lot more people in the building. Well, we are very lucky this evening to have Dr. Del Rio. He is the medical director at Meast Dunedin. He's also an emergency room medical doctor that's going to go over the finer points of how to deal with. What we mostly deal with, of course, is heat exhaustion, but a few other things so that everybody has the basics. After he finishes, Maddie has an incredible form, and she'll go over all of that, of our first aid procedures, so that everybody is on board. The good news too is, as you can see, Joe Malo is videotaping this. Hey everyone! And so please express to your other team members to get onto our website. We'll also give you that website address so that they may watch it as well, and they will also become educated about this. So here is Dr. Del Rio.
Hi, thank you. I gave this talk earlier today. Hopefully I can do it as well. Mike first asked me to come and talk to you all about some of the basics of emergency care. And what I was thinking about was you're only really going to see a couple different things here. And you're going to be charged with the most important thing is identifying the sick patient. And I talked this morning about sick and not sick. And for the most part, I think all you all will be able to tell what's the difference between sick and not sick. Sick is going to be someone who is knocked out unconscious, profusely bleeding, things like that, where the not sick is going to be someone who maybe got a little faint, needs to sit down, sprained an ankle, something along that order. So when dealing with the sick patient, I would basically say those people will fall into two categories, where they're a fainting spell or a not fainting spell, okay, or near fainting spell. The fainting spell can run the gamut of medical problems, from a stroke, from a heart attack, from electrolyte abnormalities and arrhythmias and the sort. So in that patient, or that, excuse me, that customer, the person who is fainted and is unconscious, I would expect you all to do first things first, and that's call 911. Okay. The next thing is going to be assessing that patient, that person. You all have an AED here, and that should be part of the plan in place, that when a patient goes down, that is brought to the patient's side, the customer's side, as well as any type of first aid box that you might have. And when you have that patient, you want to assess them in the most basic form that we have in emergency medicine. It's an easy way to remember. It's the ABCs, okay? And that stands for airway, breathing, and circulation. And back in 2010, the American Heart Association came out with new guidelines for CPR. And they kind of changed a little bit to have it say circulation first and then airway and breathing. And the reason being is the most common cause of cardiac arrest is ventricular fibrillation. And that's not treated with CPR, that's treated with electricity. So that's why they really wanted people to get in the habit of putting the pacer pads on and clicking the machine on to find out if this patient was in a shockable rhythm. I would still stick with your ABCs in this scenario. The reason being is you have time to, you're going to have a time lapse between getting the AED next to them, bringing it to the patient's side, and also waiting for EMS. So you're going to have time to assess the patient. And by airway, I'm talking about a pure mechanical thing. Okay? Airway is just purely mechanical. That's blood in the mouth, vomit in the mouth, the tongue is falling back, the patient has had an allergic reaction, the tongue is swollen. Okay? So those will be airway issues, and you want to open the airway. Okay? The other thing, breathing, would be next, and that's going to be determined by someone's chest rising. You hear breath sounds with them breathing. And then lastly is going to be checking a pulse for circulation. Okay? And you can actually do several of those things together at the same time. If I see you sitting on a bench talking, A's and B's are done. You're talking, you're breathing. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is touch their wrist and check their pulse, check their neck, something along that line. In the person that has passed out, okay, has fainted and is totally out, there's a couple of things you have to be cognizant about. And one of them is an injury to their neck. Okay? So if they just flat out did a face plant and whacked their head, whacked their chin, fell straight back and hit their head, that person may have a spine injury. Okay? So it's going to be important to stabilize their head and hold it in position. And basically, if you can think about, we call it inline stabilization, and if you think of the spine running straight up, you just want that head to be straight, okay? So if they're turned to their side, you're actually going to have their head like this. Okay. Right. Some of the other issues that you have to worry about is a patient that may be seizing, okay? Now, it is very common for a person to have a fainting spell and seize. That's not a big deal, believe it or not. It's because the patient's blood flow to the brain stopped and they had a small seizure. That's not a big issue. The issue is the person may vomit when they seize. Okay? So it's very important to turn those people onto their side. So when they do vomit, everything comes out. Okay? And if there was an injury involved in that, I would ask that you hold their neck in place while you turn them to the side. Once the seizure is stopped, once the vomiting is stopped, it would be safe then to roll their whole body and neck and head back together as one, back onto their back, and wait for EMS. The person with a pulse under 100, I don't think, the strong pulse and they're coming to, I don't really think that you would need the AED patches on them. I think that would be reserved for the patients that are knocked out unconscious or unresponsive and you don't feel a pulse or you feel something racing over 100. Just because you put it on them doesn't really mean that it's going to shock. The system, I don't know if you've all been trained on it, but it's fairly simple to use. You open it up, you pull the tab, and you pull out the pacer patches, and it tells you where to stick them. You stick them up here and right on the side here, and then you hit the button, and it starts to assess the patient for an abnormal rhythm. And then you can listen, and it will say, this is a shockable rhythm, stand back, blah, 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 hit the button, boom, you're done. If it's not, you can hit info, because that means that it's not a shockable rhythm and you need to start doing CPR, and the machine will actually start walking you through CPR. Okay? Yeah?
I believe this machine is pretty dummy-proof, but let's just hypothetically say in the panic of the moment somebody hits the shock button. Will it shock?
I don't know if your system, I don't think it does. I think it has to be a shockable rhythm. That would be V-fib, V-tac, torsades, maybe a fib, but I don't think they will.
And I was going to say, I was pretty sure that when I read through the book that it basically said that it would not shock unless it identified that it is.
Right.
So when
But beyond that, I don't think it's charged unless it's a shockable rhythm. So it's impossible to discharge electricity. And that being said, if you had a shockable rhythm and it said shock and it changed, it may even, stop itself from doing that. So I don't think there's energy deliverable if it's not a shockable rhythm. So that's not a worry about, touching them and going, oh geez. So, and everyone should always step back away, make sure, you have to be very careful, there's a lot of water here. Water is highly conductive, so you have to be careful about where you're standing, where there's water on the ground and whatnot. What else? So the AED is very simple to use, okay? It was made like that to have non-medically trained bystanders be able to use it. So it's pretty self-explanatory with nice big pictures, nice big writing, and also verbal stimuli to get you through it. Yes?
Let's say that this happened up by Nicholas and the person had just been splashed. Is it still safe for us to use an AED in that situation?
It would still, if they're splashed, I would try to dry them off as best as possible, because water on their chest may drip down and be on the floor and things like that, and it could provide enough of a conductive element to transmit some of that energy. Okay? Because in the hospital, we have a bunch of wires, and they're not necessarily touching the rails of the bed, but all the wires as they come off the patient onto the, so everybody just stands back, and you see everybody get back about a foot because they don't want to get a secondary shock. So in the assessment of, going back to the assessment of the fainted person, if they come to, like I said, I don't think the AED is going to be required. It's going to be, are you hurt? What's hurting you? I would still call 911 in someone that actually fainted. Okay, I would err on the side of caution and call 911 for most instances, unless it's a simple, trip and sprain an ankle or something like that, and they're fine and they want to go home. They don't want a doctor or something like that. But anyone who faints, I think, probably should require EMS to at least evaluate them. And they're able to deny or refuse care from them. It was a real big issue today, or topic today, about giving the patient or giving the customer water, because a lot of times, like as someone said earlier, that this is very often related to heat exhaustion. If the person felt lightheaded, I gotta sit down, I wanna sit down, you walk them to a cool room, you sit them down, I'm so thirsty, I'm parched, I want water, give them water. I know that the EMS and 911 have been like, don't give them water. For the life of me, can't figure out why. Okay, and a person who's awake, alert, and talking and requesting water, give them water. Right? I'm not going to do emergency surgery on this person, so give them some water. All right. Are there any other points that I missed from earlier today?
No, the one thing we were going to talk about is when is it safe, or when do you move that person? So as, you know, if somebody passes out, we assume it's heat exhaustion, it's upstairs on the next pool, it's hot, it's sunny. You know, do we need to, when is it safe to move that person?
If you have determined that there is no significant injury, mechanical injury, you know, after the fall, then I think it would be okay to move them. Someone who you suspect sustained a significant injury to their head, because that's really the only thing, we can't really tell too many times of a neck injury, say, but we can find a big goose egg or split open head or split open chin. You have to assume that the person may have, especially when they're obtunded or unresponsive, you have to assume and treat them that there's an underlying neck fracture. So I would say those people stay put and wait till EMS comes. Okay, the person that comes to is groggy. He's like, oh my gosh, what happened? You know, I just flew from LaGuardia and drove from Orlando with 250 people in my car. You know, and you know, he's saying those things. Get him up, you know, with assistance, and get him into a cool room. Get him some water. Call 911 and let them deal with that.
Okay, let's take that out a little bit further. So let's say we have somebody, they pass out, they fall down. We could have been an injury, we don't know, but then they come to, they want to get up.
Tell me that again, I'm sorry.
So they passed out, they fell down,
Yeah.
they you know, somebody witnessed it, they did a straight back or straight forward, so we can't rule out that there's not any internal injuries.
Right.
But then they come to and they want to get up. Let's say we've got an employee holding C-spine, and they kind of come to, and they're kind of fighting, or they want to get up. Do we let them get up? And this follow-up question to that is, if somebody passes out, they're laying there, we probably need to talk about, do we put an ice pack on them? Do they give them water? If we opt not to move them, we're waiting on EMS, what should we do to make that person comfortable?
The person that you're immobilizing, you know, does not need any ice per se, because EMS is coming, they're going to whisk them away. The only thing I could think of would be ice on a bump on the head or
So
something
no
like
ice
that.
packs, because we do ice packs.
No, you can, definitely. I think it's a great idea in general.
Oh, okay.
But I that's not an emergency for that person that passed out and EMS is coming. So the person who tripped, and yeah, give them that. The person who had a near passing out spell, tripped and hurt their ankle, give them some ice, put them in the pool and give them some water. Those kind of supportive measures. Okay. The person who is passed out and you're holding C-spine immobilization, I would not worry about icing him
But
down.
we use ice packs to cool the person down a lot.
You can.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to say, but I would say that's not a priority.
Okay, good, also it's
Don't you guys have an ice machine and some Publix bags? That's all it takes. That's what we use. So, to answer your question a little further, you know, that person that wakes up and may or may not have had an injury that says, my neck's not hurting me, then I would probably err on the side of saying, okay, try to move your neck. Does it hurt? Then you're probably okay. Okay. It's the person who remains unresponsive, obtunded, that you're going to do that until EMS arrives or until he wakes up. You know, we talk about distracting injuries or some other condition that could distract the patient from realizing that he has a neck fracture, and that would be a long bone injury. So he's got a broken leg. You know, his ankle is twisted and crooked sideways or something like that. Those would be distracting injuries. Like, only thing I can think about is my foot, man. I don't even feel my neck. That person may have some. Or then the I'm hoping you don't get as many as we do, but the inebriated patient, the intoxicated patient.
We've had two.
Two? We got two in the ER right now.
Should we be influenced at all by what the person down on the ground looks like, flushed and sweating profusely versus pale and dry?
Well, pink and warm is always best.
Okay.
Pale and cool is bad. Okay. And remember, most of these are going to be what we call vasovagal syncope or simple fainting spells. And basically, you have an overdrive of your nervous system, and it shuts down all the blood flow to the skin, so you're going to look pale, and then the heart's going to kick back into gear, and you're going to get, back red and pink and warm. The person who starts sweating and it's not a hot day, that's always a concern. That's someone that may have gone into a fatal rhythm or an abnormal heart rhythm that caused the passing out spell, where the typical fainting spell, the swoon, is from the heart rate slowing down rapidly, blood flow decreasing, because blood pressure decreases, no blood goes to the brain, you pass out, you hit the deck, the heart kicks back into gear, and you wake back up. That's the common scenario.
Doctor, you mentioned calling 911 first.
Yes.
Suppose someone passes out and they come to. Should we try to say, do you know where you are, what's your name, that kind of thing, or should 911 be the first? That's what we do when somebody calls.
Oh, I have no problem with you doing that. Are you asking the person if they're okay? I look at it as like, there's a lot of, helpful people here, it looks like. And as you hear something happen, it should be on the radio, it should be to a partner. Go call 911, I'll take care of the customer. And then that person is going to be doing that assessment. That assessment always is going to be, hello, what's going on? Oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. A's and B's are done. Okay, move on to circulation. Feel their pulse. Most likely you're going to feel a really slow pulse. Boom, boom, something like that. If it's going really fast, like over 100, then you may want to consider putting the AED because they may have gone into an irregular rhythm that might be shockable. If it's VTAC, and not so much that it's going to be shocked while they're awake, but they may pass out because the rhythm comes back, and you'll shock them at that point. The machine will tell you to shock them at that point, I should say.
So if anybody has any other questions, Dr. Del Rio needs to get going, can you just email them to me and I'll make sure that he gets
I
them?
have 15 minutes or so.
Well, we don't.
Oh, okay.
And let me just make one statement kind of back to that question, is that from CMA's perspective, it's really preferred that you call 911 because that helps us on the liability piece. But to your point exactly is that if you were the first responder, you need to be assessing the patient, and then you need to point, and you need to point and be specific who you're pointing to. You, if you don't know their name, I want you to go call 911. That way you've already designated, or Anna, please go call 911.
That somebody is making that
So
move
somebody's
first.
making that call, and at the same time, you should probably say, especially if you think the AED is required, or it needs to be one of those things we have at the patient side regardless, then you designate somebody else, I want you to go get the AED, and that way you stay with the patient.
And we've got all that covered. Maddie's going to go over all our procedures here at CMA with Dr. Del Rio's advice on putting all that together. So
So it sounds like there's really two situations where you would use AED. One would be if they're awake, the AEDs are okay, but circulation is over 100.
The pulse rate is
The
over
pulse rate's
100.
over 100.
And if they're still like kind of grogging out of it, I don't think it's a bad idea to possibly put it on. I'm not gonna, it's gonna be on a situational basis.
Right.
Okay.
And the
If
other
they're
one is where they're completely out.
completely out, I probably would put it on them. Okay. You can check for a pulse if it's strong and 50. You're not gonna use the AED. Period. I know that. Okay. They may have had a seizure. They may have just passed out and bumped their head and now have to bleed. But then we're going to go into a bunch of emergency medical things like the person had a stroke, the person had a ruptured aneurysm, who knows? A bunch of different possibilities exist. So it's going to be the person that is, without fail, the person that is passed out unconscious, unresponsive, and has no pulse gets the AED, period. You got a pulse, you saw what happened, they're moving some things, and they got a pulse, the AED is probably not going to be useful. This is for pulseless cardiac arrest is what it's useful for. And believe, it's pulseless, but the heart's beating. That's the thing. Because remember, and people don't understand this, when that flat line happens on that recorder that you see on TV, electricity doesn't help that. Okay? You don't shock that. What you shock is this, the heart doing craziness. All right? But that is not transmitting blood through the body because it's a fatal rhythm. So that's what you can't tell because you don't see them on a monitor. So the person that does not have a pulse gets the AED to determine that. There are some other instances, like I said, with over 100, I would say, I don't think it's a bad idea on a case-by-case basis to put it on there just to see if it's something that might be shockable if it happens again. You understand? So.
One last thing, is there ever a situation where you cancel a 911 call once it,
I don't.
you got to let it play through?
Call 911,
Okay.
they're coming.
And they can hash it
Do
out.
we all get our nurses badges now?
Yes.
Thank you so much. This is Dr. Del Rio, and a lot of hard work from Ann and Maddie. We have put together a very simple how to and what to do if there is a circumstance here that requires some medical attention. Up until now, what's been happening is, let's call hospitality. We don't want that to happen. One of the reasons is because hospitality could be running around all over the building and difficult to find, and you're losing valuable time. So we want every single team member to know exactly what to do. Maddie's going to go over this form that she's handing you guys right now, and then also know that those are going to be blown up and posted in various places around the building. So Maddie, you want to take it from there?
Certainly. All right, well, as you just heard from Dr. Del Rio, there's a lot that can happen, and it can be kind of tricky to keep track of what you should do in specific situations and where everything is around the building. So that's basically why we made these sheets, is just so that everyone, thank you, Lauren, so that everyone will know where the first aid boxes are. That's always a biggie. Where the information sheets are kept, so that you'll know. Yes. Yes. So this sheet, and it does have a reverse side as well. I know it's easy to forget. Everybody have one so far? Okay. So this sheet is basically, one more? Okay. Oh, Lauren's got it. So this sheet is basically just to take away the mystery, make sure everybody knows where everything we might need is located. So if you look right underneath the title, First Aid Basics, you'll see we have the locations for the first aid kits. Now tomorrow morning, we're going to revamp these kits. We're going to make sure personally everything that we might need is in them. And you'll see that locations 3 and 4, we're going to have large blue bins that are going to be located underneath the bleachers at Dolphin Terrace and out at Sawyer's Passage. They're going to be a little bit more weatherproof that way than the little teeny first aid kits we have there now. Now what we're going to have as far as where the sheets are posted, that's the second column there on the right, pretty much everywhere that we can think of. Pretty much every office, the classroom, the theater, the break room, by the hospitality board that everybody's probably stared at one time or another while waiting for the restroom. We'll also probably have those inside those big first aid bins. Our goal, we want to really hit you in the face with this so that if something happens, it's not a, oh my goodness, I forget, what do I do? It is right there, or you've been looking at it 15 minutes ago in the hallway. So we're going to try to have this pretty much everywhere. And you'll see we've tried to break it down underneath how to handle fainting, depending on whether the guest is conscious or not. We tried to keep it pretty simple. Obviously, there's a lot of detail that we could go into, but we didn't want to inundate everybody. You just heard Dr. Del Rio say the most important thing is to assess if 911 needs to be called, which is almost always going to be the case if the guest goes down. We also have, as he mentioned, it's especially important to note how the guest falls. If they're sitting in a chair by the winter zone and they kind of slump over, that's a little bit more of a gentle fall. They might not have as much head trauma. If they, as we've all seen, if they're standing up and they do a nosedive or back, we want to make sure that we don't move them, just like you said, unless we know. We can ask them, hey, do you feel okay? Does your neck hurt? Does your head hurt? We can kind of use that to assess. Because again, like you said, we don't have those machines. We can't tell if something's wrong. We're going to have to rely on what they tell us. So communication with them is going to be very important. On the bottom of the first side, we also have how to handle the other assorted incidents. The most common ones are the injuries if a guest trips. if they sprain their ankle, if they're bleeding in some way. We have the tips for how to handle that. And along with heat exhaustion also comes vomiting. So we do have that column there about how to handle it in that situation. So if you
And
take
can I just say, we have a facilities department that cleans up vomit. That's not part of the hospitality. Just to let everyone know that. Somehow that didn't work out around about 2 years ago.
Good point, Anna. And so next time you see Brad and he looks frazzled, give him a hug because he's probably had to do that. So if you take a look on the reverse side, you can see we have a couple very important reminders up there in red. Now first, whenever we call 911, and especially on busy days, we're going to designate a volunteer. You, again being very specific, you go outside, flag down the ambulance. Otherwise, there's people out there in line. Where are the ambulances going to go? Where are they going to park? We need to get them up here as soon as we can. So we're going to have a volunteer. And you've probably seen Brian do this. He's a champ. He's running out there. He's waving his arms, and he's bringing them right in and taking them to where the guest is so that we can get them treatment as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they're standing out there. They have no idea where to go. So that's a very important thing, is somebody's going to probably be designated to go flag in the ambulance. Now also, we're going to keep an emergency water stash. It's going to be labeled as such. So please, unless you yourself have heat exhaustion in the break room, leave the emergency waters for us. We'll also keep some, again, in those big first aid bins that are underneath the bleachers, so that if we need water, it's not going to be very cold, but it's going to be readily accessible, so that we can give them sips to keep them hydrated. We also have some little reminders about when it is appropriate to use the AED. And again, Dr. Del Rio mentioned, it really does actually speak to you to tell you directions on what to do. When you turn on the AED, I know before I took the class, I was terrified. Why would I use this thing? I don't know how to use this thing. It actually has a human voice that will talk to you and tell you where to put the pads. Push this button to analyze. So it really is very simple. It'll walk you straight through it, and these tips will help you remember that. Now, anytime that we do have to administer first aid, an incident report has to be filled out. So that's when you'd want to make sure that hospitality or guest services is involved so that we can take care of those reports. Now, you can get started on those reports. They also are going to be in those bins. Now, you see why we need a bigger size of those bins. So we'll have those in the bins on clipboards. Now, when you're getting started, the first parts are, the name of the patient. When did this happen? The more detail you can take down, the better. Is it a child? Is it an elderly person? Anything that you can think of that might be relevant to the EMTs when they arrive. The more information you have, the better. So that's definitely good to remember. You can see there we also have all the relevant phone numbers that you might need. 5 Hospitality, Elena is going to be for DTA, so I put her on there in case something happens there. It's air conditioned, but accidents happen. We also have the guest services phone numbers and Brad and Vic for the unfortunate situations involving cleanup. So all the phone numbers that you should need are there. So then we have the little squiggly line, and underneath that we have 2 websites that you all might find pretty helpful. We have the hospitality website, so the address is right there for you. The first aid sheet, it's only 1 sheet on there. It is posted on the hospitality website underneath safety. So you can see it online at any time. There's really no escaping it. We also, courtesy of Lauren and the education team, we've provided the education training site. And that kind of goes back to our earlier topic of dealing with the guests. Being informed, which I know you all are, about the animals and where they are. But there's more information on this site that could be helpful if you're interested in going to the site, checking it out, just to give you some extra talking points with the guests. So I think that about covers first aid. So, nurses' badges. George, go ahead.
How do we get the people out back to the EMS vehicle? The reason I bring that question up is we had an incident on the 2nd level, and it took almost forever, it seemed like forever because all the people were running around, to get the ramp unlocked and the locks taken out so they could actually wheel the stretcher that this person was on back down to the ambulance. And it was frustrating. We were almost ready to carry the stretcher down the stairs, but then finally someone came up with the key. Is there any way to kind of streamline that process?
I can see Frank taking notes, so I'm sure that's something he's
To
going to
actually,
address.
we've done everything, the person's strapped to the gurney.
We'll talk to the safety department about that and work on that.
And in the meantime, I mean, it will be addressed very quickly, but that's one reason that we provided all of our phone numbers. Is I know everybody, almost everybody, carries phones on the floor. Have our our numbers in it so that if you need us, instead of playing Where's Anna and Where's Maddie around the floor, because we know that can take 15, 20 minutes, call us. You know we've got our phones on us. If you call us, 2 minutes and we'll be there. So that's a good way until we get it better set up.
Where's the AED?
The AED is actually on the second level, right outside Frank's office.
Is that our business?
Strategic location. At his request. Maybe.
Maddie, what's the liability with, say myself, I'm an untrained person in first aid. I may have good responses, but nonetheless, I'm an untrained person, and I'm compassionate, I want to do the right thing, but where's the liability? Because the person could turn around and say, well, you know, you didn't support my neck, it was your fault that I have this, or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Something
That's a
could
good
happen, I'm
question.
not trained.
Isn't there Good Samaritan
Samaritan,
exemptions?
yeah.
We actually have an attorney, Catherine Bischoff, right here. Would you like to speak to that, Catherine? We've been told that that's.
You're an untrained person, you don't have any liability. I can't tell you that nobody's ever going to sue you because everybody likes to sue, but you're an untrained person, there is no liability. We have Good Samaritan laws here in Florida. If you stop to help anyone, you're protected. Now, it's a different story for trained.
Can't exceed your training.
Right.
What if the person is belligerent? Are there legal consequences if you demand that the person stay there for, I mean, so many people get so belligerent and run away or something. I'm concerned about.
We're never going to force them. I mean, if they're up and say, I'm out of here, you know, we're not going to, can't force someone.
What if we're concerned about them being really hurt?
I mean, you have to express that you are concerned. A lot of times what I do is when people get a little nervous about 911, we always say,
Exactly.
it's free. They're not going to charge you anything, it's worth it, and a lot of times that makes them feel a little better. So turn it over to us. Again, this is another situation. Anytime, all of these what ifs, turn it over to our department. Let us handle that kind of incidental, difficult, odd question type situations.
Yeah, but
That's why they pay us the big bucks, right?
belligerence is symptomatic of some of those
Exactly,
episodes.
that's part of my point, is when they stop, if they hurt their head, they may have a mental change. And when they get belligerent, you're not sure whether it's part of the injury or whether they're actually, that's just their personality. You can hope that there's someone with them that may notice that and may know that, but that's not always going to be the case.
Call a supervisor.
Yep, we'll handle it.
All right.
Again, if any of these questions are, we'll handle it, otherwise we're going to be here all night. And remember the feedback on our website? You can always send a feedback question that will be answered.
Are we going to be posting this video on
On our website, yes.
Fabulous.
Tim, who's about to have a heart attack if he doesn't
You
get
say
it.
all of this, the we've been hearing here is guy and stuff that has never been mentioned, short of, I don't know in this room, unless you have a license and you are a medical professional, okay, that's something, but for those of us, let's say just regular folk, not mentioned, just stay calm. I've seen a couple incidents happen here, and all of a sudden it's become like, we're on TV, on Rampart 51, get here. Just stay calm. Person who's down probably has people with them. It could, 9 out of 10 times, it's someone who's much older and or someone much younger. That person who's down, if they are injured or whatever has happened to them, that vibe is going to transfer to the people who are with them. The whole idea is for you to just stay calm and just keep talking. That's all people want to do, is they just want to hear something happening. Not sit there and go, oh, well, we're doing this, don't spend it, and the person who's down, talk to them. Everything, not letting them know what's going on and say, hey, you're going to be fine, everything. Just stay calm.
Well put. And again, please remember the website that you all now have. Any questions, any what ifs, hit that feedback button or send myself or Maddie an email directly. Come ask us and we will answer all questions because we want to get through all this as quickly as possible. But okay, Tom?
Couple of things. Well, I think it's important, I would bring it up. Number one, it doesn't tell you where the AED is, which is the most important thing.
We'll add that.
You might want to.
Understand that we were rushing like crazy people.
Well, that's
so
fine, but if
maybe-
you want feedback.
Nope, then that could.
So I would put that on there before you print them
Feedback
out.
website.
And then an idea for Frank too, if you have right under the bleachers by the ramp, if you have one of the kits you talked about, just an idea, but maybe the key, now you have a key to the lock that opens the door that has the ramp right there. Yeah, I know it's a combination now, but if it's a key, that's just an idea. Now, anybody can go to that kit, which is right next to the lock. I don't know, it's just a thought, but I mean, otherwise, if it's a combination.
Guarantee you that key will come up missing in 5 minutes. It's a great idea, but it will.
I have one statement, just that it would be good to have on this, because I do have a medical degree. If somebody is acting like they are drunk, it is possible that they are actually a diabetic, and it's misdiagnosed a lot. They'll have a sweet smell to their voice. Find somebody in their party as quickly as possible, sit them down so they don't pass out, and they might just need something. I've had 2 people while I've been here need something because they were diabetics. I got them food right away.
We had a wife because of it.
We have, okay.
There's AEDs on the boat?
I don't know.
I'll
No.
check with Laura, are there AEDs on the boat?
No.
Something else that we need to be very concerned about, not only the human animals, but the animals that live here and we are supposed to be making sure are well protected. We have a rule, and we're going to start putting signs up, and we would like everyone in the building to help us with this rule. There is to be no food or drink anywhere except on the first floor. As you can see, we have a lovely new food service area. We are working on some other options to not let cats be a problem. And it's difficult, but you gotta let people know for the safety of our animals. We are having tremendous problems with things ending up in the pool, and it is very dangerous to our animals. Also, the whole leaning over and taking pictures. There's a right and wrong way to do it, folks. Just be very polite, and if you explain to them it's a safety issue, again, if they get belligerent, just come get us, but that's real important. Also, our team of experts are working on some different ideas and ways of making the pools a little more safer for our animals and not being so easy. I mean, we want people to be able to get close to our animals, but we also want them to be protected. So stay tuned for that, some ideas that we have coming down the pike. The handicap bathroom. Does everybody know where that bathroom is? Yes?
I'm on the boat the majority of my time here, and people getting off the boat go, "Where's the closest bathroom?" And I go,
in the tent. The public bathrooms are not only in the tent, but now, and there are those trailers. Now we also have a set of them. If you were just walking up to the aquarium and haven't even gotten in or gone in the line yet, there's a set of them there as well.
So near the tickets where they come in.
Right, underneath the tent, in the food service area.
And there's food there now.
And we're gonna create some better signage, but that handicap bathroom is supposed to be open to only handicapped people. I think it's sort of confusing right now, and we're gonna clarify that. Here's the other thing. It's the only place that we have a changing table. So if mom or dad need to change a child, of course, we would let them go in there and do that. So when we see people over there waiting in line or whatnot, you got to do the whole, "Hi folks, this is left open for handicap, it's handicap only." And again, Maddie's going to get with Tyler on making a more specific sign, because right now you walk by, "Oh, I guess handicap can also come in here, but me too." I mean, it doesn't really say you are not allowed, only handicapped people. The other thing is, and maybe some of you have or haven't seen around Winter's Pool, there's some areas also around Bailey's Pool where we have designated some handicap areas as well, so that when it gets busy, if it's not busy, that's okay for people to stand there or whatnot. But when it's very busy, and you all have been here, when it's wall to wall all the way around Winter's Pool, we want to make sure that that area is open for handicapped people, especially during presentations.
Today I had, when I got real crowded at the afternoon, there was a lady up by Frank's actually door sitting up there, and I said, "You know, we do have an area over here." And she's like, "Oh, great." And we had to move some people out, but they had no idea because they really couldn't see it because everybody's standing on top of it.
Yeah, and it wears quickly, so we'll try to do a good job of painting it once a week. And then only one other thing, and then I want to bring Frank up. Well, 2 other things really quick. Debris in the pools. If you ever see something in a pool, right here, Les can attest to it, immediately get a hold of somebody from that department. Very, very quick. Something in the pool, something in the pool, something in the pool. The quicker we get it out, the safer our animals are. We touched on it in our little skit earlier, but how to handle winter shows. Now, she just left, Robin, but she had 3 incidents today where people came up to her, people saying, I was told there's a winter show at 3:30. Now, most of you know we've sent out several emails, and if not, I apologize that you didn't get the information. But what we are trying, because there are so many people that love to see winter and her shows, is that at specific times, almost the same exact times that we used to do her presentations, we sort of have the DEF CON, as David likes to call it. We have a green, yellow, and red for the day. And every day, everybody needs to come check our schedule board. Our schedule board has so much information on it for really everyone. You can kind of throw away green from here on out until we stop being so busy. But basically, green means presentations run normally. Yes, we have a presentation at 1:30 at Witcher's Pool. When it's yellow or red, which it's just going to be yellow and red, probably from now until at least May, we do what Brian said is, our trainers interact with Winter throughout the day. They have all kinds of husbandry work, and you're welcome to go up there at any time and we'll witness at some point interaction. So we try to sort of make everybody feel like there's a show going on the entire time that you're here with Winter, kind of a scenario. Somehow people continue to say, there's one at 1:30, and that sort of defeats the whole reason why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Because it's just too crowded around that small pool. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get up close and see Winter. So check the board. Basically what yellow means is we're not going to have a formal presentation with somebody in a yellow shirt out there talking. But what will happen is one of the hospitality associates will walk around and maybe just make a couple of comments here and there. Oh, you may be noticing right now Winter is fainting, that's what's going on. Or you may notice somebody cramming something down her throat, it's just husband everywhere, don't worry. Maybe just a couple of little comments. Red means we go dead on the mic because there are so many people in the building, and our hospitality team is doing everything possible to get people to go all over the building because it's just too crowded around there. So if anybody doesn't understand that system, just get with us, let us know. But again, that schedule board is real important. Yes?
Yeah, just one quick comment too that I've had happen a couple of times. Parents that go up on the second level with carriages have their own little stashes of food. And when the children start acting up, they go into those stashes and start hand feeding the children. So you really have to keep an eye on that. You may not see them walk the steps, but if they got a carriage,
it is
there's
going
food.
to be your biggest challenge is asking people to please eat or drink. But if you constantly explain to them, it's for the safety of our animals, I speak for the trees, you know what I mean? Just really try to enjoy my meeting on that one. Sorry. All right, I'm going to shut up now, and Frank and Dave would like to say a few words as well.
Thanks, Anna. First thing I'd like to say is thank you so much for being on board with us here and doing the job that you're doing. And we know that we still need to hire more people. We need more volunteers. And some days we're really stressful in here, as you know, especially when the attendance is approaching 5,000. We know we're going to have a problem. Couple of things. One, I think Dawn sent out an email relative to who needs to take the first aid and CPR courses. I think some of you may have gotten that. There's a schedule of people. If you haven't gotten it, there was a Group 1 and Group 2 and Group 3. Group 1 is woefully behind in taking those courses. They're online courses. We're paying for them. All you have to do is follow the instructions and take the course. I took it. If I can pass it, anybody can. But it is something I think is important when we have the crowds that we're having in here to make sure that we understand what needs to be done when something happens. The second thing I wanted to go over was angry customers. And today I experienced one. Dave did a great job because that's exactly what that guy did. His name was Robert Shaw, and he was from New Jersey. Newark Airport, not LaGuardia. And he came, he was standing outside my office. He said, I want to see somebody in authority right now. And so Krista was there. She said, here he is. Opened the door, and this guy came storming in with his wife, and he said, this is ridiculous. You guys, where's Winter? You know, and I said, Winter's out there in the pools. Well, we waited at 2:30 for a Winter show, and it never happened. And then at 3 o'clock, we asked somebody, and they said, yeah, there was a show at 2:30. I can imagine that guy was pretty upset about that. And I said, well, you know what? We're here for our animals. And Winter has a tummy ache right now. And we're not telling the whole world that, because we'll say she has a tummy ache, and by the time I get home tonight, it'll be Winter's dead.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't broadcast that, but we manage to our animals' desire. We do not force our animals to do anything. And so when she's not feeling up to top speed, we put her, we sequester her a little bit. But you can still see her, she's there. Why isn't the tail on her? Well, just like a human being, you know, the tail is something that if you wear it long enough, it's going to irritate her. And dolphin skin is 6 times more sensitive than human skin. So at the end of the day, this guy came from New Jersey, came down here to see Winter, and he was disappointed. So, and his wife kept going off really bad. So I just said, stop. What could make you happy? How about if I refund you your ticket cost? And the guy said, oh, okay. I said, we don't want you to be unhappy when you come in here. We're about a happy story here. And I'm sorry if you're disappointed, but the best I can do is to give you a refund. And I picked the phone up and I called Don and I said, write a check. And then I gave him 2 free tickets and said, you can come back. I asked him, I said, do you come here often? And he says, well, I come down here about once a year. I said, well, then your next visit's on me. So he walked out very happy and feeling guilty that his wife had just lambasted me. But that's, if you guys encounter people like that, don't try to deal with them yourself. Just go to your supervisor, or find me, or David, or Krista, or you know, one of the managers in here, senior executives, and we will take care of it, no matter how abusive they get. And we had a person over at Dolphin Tail Adventure yesterday come in. She thought that Winter was there, and she was absolutely abusive to Catherine. And one of the other staff members told me about it. Catherine actually resigned because of it. And that's not fair. Don't encounter somebody like that. If you have a situation like that, just say, can you wait just a moment? I will get somebody that can help you. And that's the way you want to deal with it. I don't want anybody going out of here unhappy, if possible. Some people, I'm seeing today a different customer than we saw 6 months ago. And as it gets hotter in the summer, it's going to get worse. And as it gets more crowded, which it will, we're going to have these situations. A couple of things that are bothering people now is they are very confused when they go over to Dolphin Tail Adventure. And right now it's called Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure. I'm going to be discussing with David a change in name, because people associate Winter with that name, and they go over there to try to find Winter, and she's not there. And I asked the ticket people today, I said, what percentage of people that come in here think that Winter's here? And I got one person told me, who works at that desk often, 90%. Another person said 95%. So we have a misconception out there. And we can manage that somewhat, I think, with a website, and we've got to do a better job in coordinating messages on the website. I said, how many people walk into this place and think this is CMA? And the answer to that, both of them said 75%. So we have changed the wayfinding signs a little bit. It's going to be expensive to change the name, but I really believe that that's going to be necessary. Yes?
I was just going to say, I think something that would help that out is actually having a sign for CMA over the bridge, because there's no sign. All it says is Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure this way. It doesn't say that CMA is, go straight, which is why they're all coming to us.
Well, a dirty little secret there. The dirty little secret is we don't have enough parking here. And we're trying to get people to go to Dolphin Tail Adventure first and take the trolley over to here. Now that's posing some other problems. One, because we have different hours here. And somebody that, let's just say they are here, and they came late on a Saturday, and we close at 7 o'clock here. And they go over to Dolphin Tail Adventure, and Dolphin Tail Adventure closes at 6. And the bus, you know, they go up to Tony's to get a pizza. And then they come to try to get the trolley, and the trolley stopped running at 6:30. And their car is stuck back here, so that's a problem. So we've got to deal with that. I think having consistent hours on both places might help that somewhat. And that's just another issue that we've got to work through there. The other thing I want to mention to you is ADA. And we talked about it a little bit earlier today. We are not that ADA friendly right now. And we had a visit from the American Veterans of Disability Association, or American Disability Veterans Association, I can't remember what it is. But they came in here about 3 weeks ago. They were very nice to me. And one of them was in a wheelchair, another one was a consultant, and another one was the executive director of the organization. And they pointed out some things to me that we should have really recognized ourselves and didn't. One thing is, you know, if you're coming into the aquarium, where's the restroom? There was no signs, no nothing. There was only a trailer out there that says restrooms, and there wasn't any ADA sign. But we fixed that. And we've got some signage up now. We've got signage inside that points to the restroom. We've got a sign that tells you where the elevator is. And if you're sitting down in a wheelchair with all these crowds in here, you can't even see where the elevator is. So we're going to put a sign up on the wall, and that's being made right now, wheelchair. Well, guess what? I got a call from them today. And they were asking me what the progress was on what we're doing. And we're going to designate an ADA area in each one of the exhibits and paint it off, mark it off. The problem is, or the challenge we have is, when we're this crowded, we have some very rude people who won't move out of the way for somebody in a wheelchair. If you in hospitality see somebody in a wheelchair, I would like for you to go up and ask if you can assist them to get there, and then ask other guests to move out of the way for the ADA designated area. We're going to put more signage up and things like that, but I think it's very important. Doggone it, you know, we're blessed to have 2 legs, and we don't realize what it's like to be in a wheelchair. Yes?
Frank, on that point, when I was still working here and not at the DCA, I had an issue similar to that, well, exactly like that, a woman in a wheelchair. And a show had just broken, she had to go to the bathroom, her person that was with her wasn't around, they were over by the touch tank, she needed to go to the bathroom. Catherine, I believe, was there and helped me with it that day when I said, could you push her and let me go in front to kind of make passage for her, because she couldn't get through past the stingrays. I mean,
Sure.
Even if we had some sort of signage like we use at the gift counter to ask people, you know, go down here, what some sort of sign that somebody could hold up so that people would see they needed to park, so that a handicapped person either on crutches or in a wheelchair could get through. Because when you're just coming through as a body and you're saying, excuse me, could I get through here? They're like, I'm watching the stingrays. So
Yeah, imagine them being,
sort of to get us through.
imagine them being over in the outer area and having to go to the bathroom and work their way back on a Saturday to the elevator downstairs and then through the main lobby back to the bathroom.
Let me tell you how to do it. You raise your voice and you say, excuse me, I've got a wheelchair coming through. You just have to do it.
Trust me, you don't know me. You obviously don't know me. I just think it would be easier.
Well, listen, the point is that
exactly
we need to be sensitive to that. We're under construction right now. We're going to have ADA restrooms available when we're done with construction, both in this building and in the new building. So it won't be a major issue then, but right now we've got to help our friends. We really do.
Frank, what's the status of the lift that goes up to the Nicholas level? Because
I've got a stick of dynamite in my office.
we've had challenges with that, and I only am here on Fridays, and it's down a lot.
It is.
And when it's not down, it's still very difficult for the guests to learn how to work.
Well, we have to grin and bear it at this time, because there's no point in buying another lift.
Okay.
That whole area is gonna be bulldozed,
Right,
if you
of course.
will. That's gonna be a straight-through area, walk-through. We're gonna take the trainer's office out, Kelly's office, all the way to the
Right.
classrooms there. And it's gonna be a much wider area. We won't have those pinch points that we have right now. But right now, we just have to deal with that stupid lift.
And Anna, this is where your staff or the volunteers in hospitality can be really helpful, which I've seen them. Because those of us who are in another department, we're trying to help the trainers, I mean, get
You
the
mean Maddie in
animals
the
ready.
facilities department and Brian who fixed the chairlift all the time?
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Well,
doing?
it's just that if they know that somebody needs to use the lift, to go and actually physically help them on and
Oh, they're
off.
awesome.
Because even though they see us with a volunteer shirt on, and as much as I think we'd like to help them, we may have to get food, we may have to do something for that department, and I just feel so badly sometimes. So thank you when your staff
And we
has
are
pitched
working
in.
even, thank you, and we're working even harder on having, and we'll talk about that when we finish up here, about zones, and that being part of your responsibility is to watch and help people get on and off
Awesome.
chairlift.
Great.
And holding
Great.
people back
Thing
with
about
lift
the
to
lift,
see use.
should we be sending it back down once somebody gets up there? Because I've seen, you know how it's a pinch point, like you said. I saw 2 kids, must have been like 6 and 5, somewhere around there, running underneath, playing. Mom and Dad don't care, they're looking for winter. And, you know, I told Vic, I was like, you know, we could use like an accordion fence there to keep them out. But the safest thing would be send it back down. What if somebody down needs to come back up? There's always that button up top to recall it when the Nicholas show is over.
Well, if I have another day like today, I'm gonna sit under it. Let me-
It's a good idea, we can try, sometimes it's a staffing issue
Right,
and all of that, but we can try. We've tried to put signs down there, don't put anything under here, but you're right, and that's another issue. People don't watch their children. We have a code Adam, which we'll talk about later, but more times than not, we have the children come up to us and say, I don't know where my parents are. Now think about that. If you were missing your child, wouldn't you be screaming and freaking out and identify that that was the parent? It's almost
Not
like
if you
the
pay
parent.
$70 to get in and see winter. I paid $70 to see winter.
More of course, and then,
That's
yeah.
what they're focusing on. Is
So that is an issue that we also deal with now is poor parenting.
Well, and that's true. We had an experience over at Dolphin Tail Adventure where some parents came in, paid for their 8-year-old kids, 7 and 8, and left them there
What?
with no parental supervision. And one of the people on the desk said, you can't just leave your child there. Oh, yes, I can. I paid for them. And they walked out. And they should have called the police right then, but they didn't. So those kids were in there in Dolphin Tail Adventure for a couple hours, unattended. And so there are some really dumb people, and you can't fix stupid, but that kind of thing we're not going to tolerate in here. That's for sure. And that we're going to protect children and not let something like that happen again. And the simple thing is, if somebody refuses to escort their children around, we're just going to have to call the police. If they're under 12, we've got to do that. So, ADA, we want to be friendly. And I hope that, you know, you guys as part of hospitality, you got to be the key for that. But any of us should help anybody with disabilities. The other side of that disability thing is hearing impairment.
Thank you.
And we had a hearing impaired person come in here with a friend, and you know they paid a visit to my office as well. And there's several things that we can do to mitigate that. One is I want to put on the website that if somebody is hearing impaired, they can notify us in advance, and we will get an interpreter, sign language interpreter, to come in, and they're available. They're about $30 an hour. You usually need 2 of them, one to stand by the person and one to stand by the presenter. And so the presenter starts presenting, and then the person interprets and so forth. But at any rate, that I want to take the scripts that we use in our presentation and print them out, so that if we have somebody that comes in, we can give them a hard copy of that. There's some other things like subcaptions that we probably should do, but that's expensive. We're not gonna get to that immediately, but that's something that I think we likely will have to do at some point as well. As we grow bigger and more successful, we're gonna have eyes on us like that. And quite honestly, they should have an experience just like anybody else, as best we can do for them. So, yes,
Are we gonna get any more wheelchairs and?
I ordered them today, all right?
And
Excuse
will-
me, I authorized Dawn to order them today.
Okay. And will they be out at the beginning of the admission lines? Because people get out of their handicapped vehicle and can't walk the rest of the
Well,
distance.
I think what we'll do is, no, we won't put them out there because they'll be gone.
Yeah.
And we'd like to
But-
encourage wheelchair people to use their wheelchairs, you know what I
Right.
mean?
But a
So
lot
we
of
don't have to
the-
buy 8,000 of them.
We can't even leave a plastic bench out there without it being stolen, so, you know, we'll have them available, and we'll have more of them that have both feet and so forth.
I've encountered people that really don't need a wheelchair, but they can't walk through the whole facility. And they need seats here and there. And the only places we have chairs is out by the winter zone.
Or they
And-
can't take the stairs.
Well, they really struggle on the stairs, or they can make it, but then they're thoroughly exhausted or they're in pain and they really need to sit, and we have all these very, healthy people sitting in the winter chairs, and we can't get a chair for some of these, more disabled people.
Well, let me tell you about chairs and seating and stuff. Over at Dolphin Tail Adventure, I had 6 benches put out there along the front of Dolphin Tail. They're all stainless steel, they're painted black, but they're out there and they're fastened to the ground. We have plastic benches that we put out in by the Jolly Trolley for people, elderly people to sit down. And they went missing, but we're gonna order, we'll have 8 of them out there, 6 to 8 of them, however many we can get. It's gonna get more difficult as we go into the rainy season. It's gonna get more difficult as we get more crowded than we are. We're limited in how big a tent we can put out there because of city codes and that type of thing, but we are trying to manage that as best we can. And we recognize that there are elderly people coming in here, and they are deserving of a place to sit as well.
Is there any possibility of doing sometimes like where you see where the bus stops are, where people sponsor certain benches and stuff, and having them sponsor one for the aquarium?
Well, the problem now is we don't have any way to fasten them to the ground. Once we get the pavers in there, then we can fasten them to the pavers, and they'll be permanent. But if we put anything elaborate in there now, it'll disappear in a minute. No question about it. Food service. Anna mentioned it briefly, but I want to stress it again, that in the past few days, we've had some objects go in the pool, and some of them have been food. And obviously, we don't want, we'll have our dolphins turn into beggar dolphins. And we start throwing sandwiches in there. So I ask your help as the hospitality. I sent 2 elderly couple downstairs today who had food and a drink up here. And, they were first upset, and then I explained why. And they said, sorry, we're very sorry. And they went down to the first level. I would like to not have food in the building, but I'm afraid with the heat and everything that we are not going to be able to do that. And I'm not exactly sure how we're going to manage it, but we've got to keep them off the second floor.
See it every day there, all over the place.
Yep.
Bottles of water, drinks.
And we need your help. If if Winter swallows one of those plastic caps and we don't know it,
Oh, yeah.
she could be bye-bye. Or Hope, or Pam, or Nick. So we want to be very, very careful with that.
If we could install a drinking fountain upstairs, people don't have containers, but they could at least get something, to wet their whistle and then move on.
Maybe we could do that out on Harbor Deck. I don't know. I'll check with Brad on that. Okay, well, I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to. Again, we've got a good website here, the hospitality website. You guys are doing a fantastic job, believe me, all except for David. Grouchy old Yankee.
Thank you for getting
Grouchy old
Yeah.
Yankee. And I thank you all very much for what you are doing, and we will persevere through this summer season. I know it's not going to be easy, but we are truly blessed to have the business we've got. And the one thing that I'll leave with you, you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Thank you so much. Elena, Brian, Naveed, Maddie, you know who you are. Everybody that has been to Dolphin Tail Adventure, stand up. Uh-oh, we have a lot of people not standing up. Okay, why is it important to go to Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure? You guys can sit down.
Because there's an awesome touch shapewear.
Yeah. Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure. First of all, because it is such an exciting place to go. There is a lot of really cool things. And Elaine is kind of in charge of making other fun, cool things going on that we'll be talking about in a few minutes. But one of the major reasons why we opened Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure is because we knew what is happening would happen. And that meant when the movie came out, more people were going to want to come here. So we want to encourage people to go to Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure. And so we're going to have a sandwich board up front when people come walking out with all the daily activities. Does everybody here know where the giant schedule board is near the break room across from the bathroom? That's the hospitality schedule board. We're going to list on there every single day what's going on at Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure. I would ask especially everyone that's in other departments to please constantly tell people what's going on over there and how much fun it is, and it's a free trolley ride, and anything you can do to
Air conditioned.
That's the big one, right there. Got some AC, and it's free. You got your armband on, you paid for it, you might as well go over there. I've had so many people tell me, and Elena maybe can share this as well, that have said, I didn't really want to go over there. I thought it was a bunch of exhibits and stuff like that, but wow, it's really cool over here. The other big draw is, oh, I lost my gift shop lady, or one of them anyway, is the gift shop over there is 3,500 square feet. There's way more cool stuff over there than the teeny tiny little gift shop that we have over here. I was just talking about your gift shop. I said 3,500 square feet. Did I get it right? Because I changed the number regularly. So again, if every morning you can check and see what events we have going on over at Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure, and really encourage people to go over there and just explain to them that it's part of the experience, and it's not all movie stuff. We're really increasing what we have there on the educational element. There's a whole exhibit there. Did you guys know there's an entire exhibit there on nothing but Winter's Tail? Did you guys all know that? I mean, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff over there. So if you guys can help with that, again, Elena has come on board as our new full-timer, and she's really trying to create and make the experience even more enhanced. One of the things that we've just proposed this morning is to maybe have a couple of animals over there. We're trying to talk Mike Hurst into letting Spot go over there, the moray eel, because he's so hidden down there, nobody knows he's down there. We're trying to get with the Seabrew Sanctuary to maybe bring Rufus's cousin over there. So if you come up with some ideas, especially I see some of my DTAers over there, please shoot us an email, hey, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, and we'll try it, because right now we're looking at less than 30% of the people that come here go over there. That's not good.
Question? Does the walking Winter ever go over there?
Yep. Yeah. Right now, we try to have Winter, the land-loving Winter, make an appearance twice a day, if we can find someone to wear the mask. Yeah. So anybody that wants to volunteer to do that,
who haven't been over, come on over.
Try every day.
The other issue I'm having is when you say land-loving Winter, nobody knows what the heck that is.
Well, if anybody can come up with something other than mascot, because I have to tell you, until I had to buy a mascot, I didn't really know what that meant. It's going to help because we're going to get signage, I think, tomorrow, and it'll have a picture of Winter on there. So the problem is we still have this problem with people thinking Winter's over there. I've tried to talk Mike into creating a tunnel so Winter could, like, he didn't like it. So he didn't go for it. So there has to be a way for people to understand, because there's already confusion. So yeah, if anybody, we try the
Huggable winner.
I say cuddly too.
Huggable winner, but you know what? You would think people would understand what that meant, but they don't.
The kids know better than the parents know what we're
So
talking
hopefully the
about.
picture, the big giant picture of winter, you know, will help make them understand. Yeah, we try it all. We try it all. Yeah.
Dancing winter?
Yeah. So, but we do have, at 12 and 2:30, we try to have Winter make an appearance there every day, but it's just finding somebody that wants to get, and let me tell you, there's a fan in there, it's nice and air cool.
Got an
We got
ice
an ice vest.
But they need to be washed.
Are you trying to move the bus over here? Yes, Joe. Yeah, who was in it last?
Joe was in it last.
Awesome, I recommend it to everybody, it is so.
Yes.
Yeah, Joanne Kelly, it's really kind of fun, especially if you're interested in getting some hugs, but, beginning this Friday, the room that we are in right now, every single day in the evenings will turn into an actual movie theater, and we will be showing, guess what?
The Lion.
Dolphin Tale, the actual movie Dolphin Tale. Sundays through Thursdays, it will run at 4 p.m. On Fridays and Saturdays, it will run at 5 and 7:30 p.m. And it will be, you have to pay to get into the aquarium. It's a, I think they call it an add-on or something like that. So A, please spread the word. And B, well, I think we took care of that problem, so I don't even need to address that one. Let folks know that that's going to happen. We'll try it for a few weeks, see if it works, and adjust accordingly. But we're going to sell popcorn, and we'll have appearances by David Yates, and do little talks, and yada yada. And so it should be a pretty interesting venture. I believe it's going to be $5 for kids and $7.50 for adults, but I'm not positive. And they do this at other attractions. So, and again, you know, let's spread the word. Wasn't like the movie, no rich guy came and saved us, so we're still trying to scrap for money as best we can. So, yes, ma'am.
But it's just a thought that comes to mind, but if I were to come in to see the movie at, say, 5:30 and it's over at 7:30, but the aquarium closes at 7, I'm going to have a couple of little kids that want to run upstairs
The
and see
plan is that the people that would purchase that, or think of it like do you have to go and do your thing? Gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen, this is Tim Rankin. He is right now in a performance of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. The thought process, think of it kind of like stingray feeding. When you come to the aquarium, you're here, you're having a good time. Oh, they offer this, they offer this. Oh, they offer being able to see the show. We're not really focusing on people from the outside that would only want to come here to see the movie. Now, we're going to watch it and gauge it, but that's our thought process, is you get here and realize you have that as an option, and then you purchase it. So that would take care of that issue. But we're going to watch it.
And you're going to lock the doors, right?
We can't lock the doors because but we will have a theater host, and the theater host will make sure that no strange people come in. Even though, take a look at these.
So we'll have an eco cinema combo pack that'll have if I want to go on behind the scenes and just the movie, then I can do that, or I can go on the behind the scenes movie and go see
Except on Tuesday.
Right.
George?
Unsolicited plug for Dolphin Tale Adventure. I went back over there and actually bought the jewelry that I was going to buy today because the selection over there is so much better than the gift shop. It's so
Go Patty. We're finished with overall information. I would ask that, first of all, thank you all for coming and participating and learning, because our small hospitality department can't do it all. I would ask that anybody that is in hospitality, I've got about another 5 minutes, specific things to our department. Again, please go to our website and the education department's website. It's really, really helpful. The more you know, the more you can share it with our guests.
And one of my favorite things I know is to see the guests with Winter's Tale, one of the prototypes. How many do we have floating around, and what is the current photo policy? Now I understand that it may have changed.
check our website. It's so funny because that is on my list of things that we're going to talk about. We're looking at revamping that experience, and that will be on our website hopefully within the next couple of days. And again, folks, please bear with us. I heard some little cutesy little comments about finding some typos and stuff. You guys have no idea how hard this team works. They bust their butts morning, noon, and night. What's the earliest or latest I've called any of you guys? Ridiculous amounts of hours. They're exhausted. They're working their booties off. They constantly come to me and say, I don't need a lunch. I don't need a this. Do you need me to stay? So yeah, there's going to be little mistakes here and there. And when we say we're working on something and it takes a little longer, it's because we've really got so much to do. And I know this sounds a little hokey, but let's give them a round of applause. Yes, Nico.
Code Adam. Not everybody at DTA knows Code Adam.
That's also on our list to come.
Okay.
Yep, yep. We wanted to make sure those two issues that you two ladies discussed were addressed and looked at and revamped and looked at over a fine-tooth comb as opposed to just thrown together before we presented them. And actually, that's a guest services thing, but I think we may be taking it over. So in the next few days, we'll have a more concise.
I know that kids have come to me at least and have been like,
Yep.
I don't know, and I just.
We're going to
like
put a protocol
talked to
together.
hospitality people over there,
Yep.
And they just don't know what to do if they find a kid or a parent.
Those are actually two issues that we have that we want to work on and be able to disseminate that
I mean,
information
like,
to you guys.
guest services and handle it, just they don't know what to do.
Right, exactly. So if hospitality folks can stay for another 5 minutes, I would love you. If not, I'll hate you. Everybody else, thank you guys so very, very much.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, yes, Damaris. We don't get paid. I'm trying to see who's been here a while. George has been here a while. Tom's been here forever. Does everybody know Tom Orr? He's also on our board, and he's here on Saturdays and gives the most incredible tours ever.
If you guys have any board questions, would you still let me know? Because I know they had an informational meeting, and some of the questions that came up were pretty funny. Like, people thought that the board got rich from the movie. Oh. Actually, it cost me a lot of money.
Tom likes to say he played the little old lady, the one that's like, we gotta let winter go. That was
I was technically the board chair in the movie, so yeah, I played by an old lady.
Starting, they may have already started today, Second Theater? Yep. The classrooms, Monday through Friday, we will turn into sort of another theater. We have 3 different presentations. It's sort of a you push a button and don't have to worry about it. We're going to get some signage up. It's not here yet. And so that's another area that as we get crowded, we'll want to push people. This is at CMA. Line monitor, we now have a fanny pack so that when you're out there, you will have a phone, and Nadine used it today. She had a quick question, whoop, make a phone call, take care of it. It's also going to have sunscreen out there. We're going to try really hard to only have you guys out there for 1 hour. And then the whole point of DTA, or the line monitor, is to push people to go to DTA. Now that said, don't force them. We had a large group of guests that said they were forced. They weren't sure why. They were told they had to go over there, so they were like, here I am.
You need to go there. You need to go. They got off the trolley going.
Yeah, they were like, somebody just demanded that we go up there. Yes, we want to persuade them, but it didn't like
Yeah, they went there, bought the tickets, and then hop back on the trolley. Yeah,
And the trolley line was extremely long over at DTA today from the people who got sent over there, then wanted to immediately come back. So I mean, it was very, there was a lot of confusion as to what DTA is, what we do over there, and you know, we're trying to encourage them to come into DTA, not just buy the ticket. So that's something, you know, you can buy a ticket, but you're gonna get back in a line. So they were like, why did I do that?
That's what they were told they could do today. They all said that. They said we were told that you could come here and buy a ticket and get back on the trolley and go back to the aquarium.
Which is true, but we it's all
Yeah, they were like, I was already in a line, and then I got out of that line to go over here to buy a ticket to get back in a line.
No, I gotta get back in line.
So they were very
We would
upset.
hope that there would be enough, I mean, when you would walk in the door, it would be enticing enough for them to want to stay.
Well, you have to be at the front door and encourage them.
Well,
Yes,
yes, but when in that first hour, I had 2 lines going just for the 2 people that I had at guest services who couldn't keep up, so then we opened up ticket sales at the gift shop, but they could only do certain tickets and not other tickets, so I mean, there was just.
So DTA is turning into CMA.
Now we have, you got some stanchions, we got more stanchions.
Yes, we're getting stanchions, so.
So line monitor obviously is a very important duty, but let's try to do it correctly. Also in the theater, we're still getting some people, and again, this is really not for you people, this is for you people, that are still thinking that when they have theater duty in here, it's a come in, push the button, or the times aren't getting done correctly. They wander off and do something else. Oh my goodness, I was supposed to start the theater. Let's try to remember and remain cognizant that if you have theater duty, it's about encouraging people to come in between showings of the videos, chatting with the guests, talking to them, and making this room an experience.
Another important thing about theater is please, please, please do not turn the lights all the way off.
Yes.
I can't count how many times I've come in here and tripped, and I know where the chairs are. I mean, guests have no chance. So just keep one of the lights a little bit up, just enough so that folks can see the chairs when they come in. It makes such a huge difference.
And Saturday when I was here, there were, these kids looking at the stuff on the table in the dark.
Yeah.
And the movie wasn't even going, so I turned the light up and they were like, "Oh, this is great,"
I mean, theater duty is an important duty. They think, oh, I got stuck with theater duty. And then we have people that's all they want to do is theater because they make it such a fun experience. So, make it a fun experience. Go outside the doors and get people to come in. The great news is we now have a wonderful facade so people know that this is a theater, touched upon by 2 people earlier, we are going to work on the Code Atom. So I'll send out an email to everyone when we get that all buttoned up, but check the website as well. And then tail. We realized just due to changes that we need to change how we do tail up, tail down. We have 2 tails. Our CEO is very adamant, and we all believe, of course, it is important that people get to see that tail. We are doing a lot more tail talks, which I think is a better avenue to do that, especially if you have 2 people, one person giving the talk and maybe the other person like Kevin, for those of you, Kevin was here a little while ago, walking around with it and showing people and letting them hold it or whatnot. So we're going to kind of revamp that whole way that we do it out of necessity. Zones. I think everybody's doing a pretty good job with zones, but we also want to remember zones doesn't mean to zone out. It means to wander around, chat with people, engage people with people, talk to them about whatever it is they're looking at, and that's the perfect opportunity to talk about WDTA or other places they can go, especially when we're crowded. Also, you want to check the board because sometimes you may have more than one duty assigned to you. You want to look at the overall board. Something very important that gets missed all the time is, oops, I didn't know I had crowd control because you also had me on that. Well, crowd control pretty much is only for, obviously, the Nick show and also the Hope presentation, and it's short-lived. It would be silly to have you guys do that for a whole hour because it's just a time to get the people up and the people down and whatnot. So please try to keep an eye on that as well. Mini presentations. You've all gotten really good at doing those, and thank you guys so much for that. Remember the equipment. It's real important when you bring the microphones, the portable mics and stuff, to plug it back in. So they don't hold the charge very long, and if you don't, then no one has a microphone.
And turn it off when you plug it in, those boxes. They will not charge if that box is still on and you plug that thing in, it won't charge. Make sure it's
Those boxes are also labeled, the ones that have separate portable mics. There's an A, B, C, D. Please be sure they're all labeled. That microphone that goes with Deeks, the different frequencies, they're not interchangeable. We got to make sure they're going back in the same bag you got it out of, not set on the desk over here and one piece over here. It's all kind of sitting in one spot. We got to be real careful.
If it's broken and not working, let us know because we use the heck out of them and they do break, and then we look over there and we've only got 2. And it's very important. I get this question all the time. Why do I have to wear the squawk box? Why do I? Trust me, when you have 15 people on your tour, the last 2 or 3 people can't hear. And I've heard this comment, well, they don't complain. Well, think about it. If they're that personality, they're at the back of the line, they're that passive person that wouldn't say anything anyway. I've been on the back of the tours. You can't hear. I know some of you think you got to loud voice that you can't hear, and that squawk box really helps.
And it's not just you, even if you do project really well, there's so many people more, you know, in the building nowadays, it's loud, and you're competing against all of that extra.
I agree with that. I was against the squawk box because I've got a very loud voice.
Yes, you do.
But these days, with so much background noise and everything, you need that squawk box.
And that is an unsolicited testimonial.
And
sometimes-
sometimes-
When Luke came to me and told me that today, that he was having his head, I almost fainted.
I was against it, but
Yeah.
now I'm very much for it, because there's just too much noise all over the place, and people.
And you never know how far spread out your tour is gonna get, because there's cases where if you got 15 people and something, there's crowds and it's broken, now the last guy is way down the line, you know, they can't hear you.
And
there is,
just real quick, that's why it's real important to have our phone numbers. We mentioned having our phone numbers. You're out there and you realize you're missing some people on your tour, rather than panicking and running and trying to, it's a quick call. My tour is starting, Maddie, and 4 people are missing. Blink, and then we can handle it.
And what I was going to say is one caveat about the squawk boxes is when you're around the corner by the sea turtle rehab area, we do not want that microphone on super loud blaring into those rehab turtles. Sea Turtles tries very hard to keep it quiet, to keep it, you know, as peaceful back there as possible. And that's an area where there's not much other traffic. So in that area, when you're talking about food prep, when you're talking about turtle backyards, you can turn off the squawk box there because we don't want to bother those turtles.
Until Danielle leaves.
Yes.
Yeah, then we
As soon as
can
Danielle's back in her office.
And in the office, in the aisleway, we don't have to have the.
That's true as well.
And when you
Yes.
turn
But I
it
don't care
off,
about bothering the people.
you know, it's
just
important
turtles.
too, but when you turn it off there, tell them why you turned it off.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Exactly.
they're wondering why you turned it off, and it's cool. The reason you turn it off is cool. It's because you got turtles right next to you.
Brings the point out much better that this is what we do,
Right.
instead of carry on with
Are you encouraging that we carry our cell phones now then?
Yes, definitely. I think especially because people do faint on your tours. Not
They
yours
do?
specifically.
The computer has disappeared.
Yes.
So how do we find out?
Temporarily, we're going to be, because this is now a movie theater, we're going to be using right across the hall, the gift shop little area. And then in the next few days, it's going to move again, and it's going to be in the break room, we hope, for a number of reasons I won't bore you about. But I do
But you're talking
think,
about in the store's office across the way?
yeah, like right across.
Oh, okay.
Yep, just bounce out and blink.
It
Just
might
like
help
that.
if everybody knows what the password is and the login, because today I went over there, it was logged out, and she said, oh, well, you have to
That's
go
why
in
we're
there, and then the
moving
login
it.
screen.
That's why we're moving it.
Very luckily, I knew what it was, because you told me the other day.
And you know what?
it was
Again,
logged out.
ring. Hey, Anna, can you look and see how many people are on my tour? Thanks, wink. That easy. We recently, was it last week, got a new presentation schedule. And if you remember, we had 2. One was sort of color-coded and one was for the guests. Some people are still using the wrong presentation schedule. A few things got changed. What you'll notice the most is, on the back, is more of an itinerary, so people can have ideas of what to do and where to go and what to experience and whatnot. And that was a lot of help from Kirk on that one too, so we thank him for that, even though he's not with us. Everybody know that we started a new tour at 10:30 in the mornings? Yay! And I would say about 95% of you said movie tour needs to go. It's hard to change a tour because they're so booked. We're going to look at the beginning of May, possibly either doing away with it or maybe moving it at a different time. The problem is that movie tour takes you upstairs, and right now it's happening during the busiest time of which all of those tours were set up for reason of days gone by. They worked then. So I'm going to sit down and assess and figure out what we want to do with tours. We're selling them out like crazy. I'm looking around, I've got some awesome tour guides in here, but we've got to have all awesome tour guides. That leads me to another sort of sticky situation. We've been talking about all these changes that we've done in the hospitality department. So much is asked of you guys. So much is asked of you. Now we're asking you to give mini presentations, and we're asking you to give speeches and talks. And the requirements, I guess you would say, for what it takes to be a hospitality volunteer or a hospitality associate or a hospitality team member has changed. And what we would like is that every hospitality team member be able to do everything. Can you imagine, of the number of people that I have, this person can do this, but this person can't do that, but this person, and we try to put a schedule together. Oh, I can't let that person because they don't know. And I really want everybody to be able and willing to do everything. There are some people that maybe don't want to, don't care to, or just aren't able to do the things that we now require in the hospitality realm. So guess what? We have a place for you. It's Winter's Dolphin Tale Adventure. It's much quieter there, it's much more relaxed there, and it's much, there's an opportunity there to be a little more relaxed and not have all of these requirements and duties. We do have volunteers that came to us and wanted an opportunity to volunteer somewhere, just be able to kind of kick back and chit chat. That's not how it is at CMA anymore. You guys know that. I'm like, I need you to go do a tail talk right now. You need to run up and go do a story time. Can you go out there? Oh, somebody's passed out over there. I need you to do this and you do this. And there are some people that just, that's not their thing. Great, fine. We have another place for you. And we have the lovely and talented Elena that can find an opportunity for you to be able to sort of flow around and do your thing. And that's not to say that there's not a lot going on over at Winter's Dolphin Tale Adventure, but there is that opportunity that used to exist here and that doesn't. So I would ask, and really it's nobody here, but to you people out there, if Winter's Dolphin Tale Adventure sort of sounds like the better place for you, we do need to make that happen. So just let me know that.
So we can go over there and kick back and relax. Is that
Yep.
Or
try.
No, I'm just kidding. Used to wear the mascot outfit, we can get banished.
No one is forced to wear the Winter's mascot. We
just beg, we don't force.
We ask, and then we're denied.
Yeah, we're going to start giving the behind-the-scenes tours. The tour guides all have to wear that.
I'm working on the boat.
That band has to work.
Yes.
And it has not been working. People have not been turning it off.
People have been wearing it, have not been turning it off. They will have batteries tomorrow. We will take care of it. It'll be.
Because that kills you.
We'll have a protocol. Yep, and that ice chest.
Double
ice vest.
check before you put it, double check the battery. It's just a quick battery.
Yeah, except for when you're rushing to get into it and everything,
scram,
you don't
you
have
get
time to
nothing.
do that. You gotta make sure it's done beforehand.
And the hard thing too is that you're staff, so you're running around doing stuff, and then that's why you're having, people that are coming in are volunteers, they have a little bit more time to check things out, make sure it's all good. But because you're on staff, you have, until I say, you can go.
Exactly.
So we talked about some of the cool things going on at Winter's Dolphin Tale Adventure. Elena, you want to kind of let them know some of the things we do daily over there to try to entice people?
For the next few weeks when we're doing all this spring break craziness, we've got 3 things that are happening every single day. And that is the mascot comes at 12 and 2:30. And it's really fun for the kids. The kids love it. I mean, today I literally had to have a line forming for the children. And that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. The second thing is the autograph signing. Every day from
1 to 2.
1 to 2. We are going to have somebody over there signing autographs. That's usually going to be David Yates, Abby, one of the dolphin trainers, or Joanne Friedland. Joanne's might be doing it for a little bit
Joanne's
longer.
allowed to stay as long as she would like.
Joanne will be there for as long as she
Joanne
needs.
may be there till we close because she's that much of a draw.
And the thing especially that we're working on with the dolphin trainers, because their schedule's so crazy, they're going to call me as soon as they can and let me know who's going to be there that day. And hopefully we'll get you guys to know that as well. So everybody knows who's going to be there, and we start telling everybody as soon as possible, this is who's going to be here from 1 to 2. Because that draws people in as opposed to, oh, it's a dolphin trainer that no one...
And we also put up a sign at the very, when you're in line to buy your ticket, and you go through the little mouse thingy or whatever, and then you're standing there waiting, I'm next, I'm next. There's a big old win sign that we're going to have the person's face and who is going to be signing autographs over there for that day. Unfortunately, sometimes they change it on us, so, and don't tell us.
The other thing is the Winter's Mailbox, and that's happening in the back part of DTA over by the Tail movie theater. And that is a kind of a kids' crafts table, and they can draw pictures or write a letter to Winter, put it in the mailbox, and at the end of the day, we choose a winner. And that winner is put up on our Facebook page, our website, under the blog, and then we also send them a special prize to their own home. So this is, kids love it, but I need DTA people to talk it up too. If you guys are in the game room, let people know that it's going on. I had several people going, well, I saw a mailbox and there was a manatee with a mailbox. Well, those don't open. They're glued shut. So make sure that they're at the table and try and keep everything at the table, because I saw kids running around with crayons today, and I'd like to keep it all at the table. But those are the 3 things that are happening every day. Other than that, we've got a bunch of other giveaways. We're like Anna said, we're trying to get the Pelican guy there. I've got a gift shop shopping spree.
How's that
It
going?
went pretty well. It went pretty well. A little kid won it, and he was already in the gift shop, like shopping before he even won. And so I've got a little Ocean Express card that I hand out. He's ridiculously creative, and so that it's very easy. Everything's already there. You just hand it out. I need to work on better sign for the scavenger hunts, but we're gonna get all the sign stuff worked out. But every day there's something going on extra other than these other 3 events that we already have going on. So there's lots going on, and it's busy. It's really busy from about 12 until about 3 o'clock, so keep people there. Something that I said to both of our DTA people today was, when they get there, don't tell them, don't ever say, well, you can go over to CMA in Park. That never leaves our mouth. We want them, if they're there, we want them to stay there. So it's more of a thing of, well, the line over there is much longer than it is here. We've got better parking, whatever you can do. Hey, there's an autograph signing going on. So whatever you can do to keep them there. We don't ever want to give them the option of, oh, well, I can go to CMA and get my ticket there and just go there. We want them to come into DTA and stay.
And on the CMA side, don't forget on that hospitality board, we do our best every day to update, what's going on and what time, so that when you're all out on the floor here, and people say, hey, I heard this announcement, but there's so many people I couldn't make it out, and nobody listens to us anyway when we're on the mic. And what's going on over at DTA? Okay, well, you could say, hey, I saw this, 1 to 2:30, so-and-so is going to be signing autographs. So we're trying as hard as we can to make sure that everybody in all departments stays in the loop. So we're doing our best with that way.
And check regularly, because it does change. I mean, I thought Abby got kidnapped. I mean, she was doing an autograph signing, and I came up, and 2 people are tearing down. I'm like, what happened to Abby? And Ashley looks at me and goes, some man with a blue shirt came and grabbed her and whisked her away. And I'm like, what?
Dakota Abby.
I'm like, what do you mean? So, I don't know. It was Mike Hurst. Just came and grabbed her and just took her away. So meanwhile, they're over there going, go see Abby, go see Abby. So, and obviously they needed her because they had some call-offs and they didn't have enough trainers over here. So stuff
Yeah,
doesn't.
but make sure to let us know that.
It would have been nice.
I was literally making the announcement. I'm like, you can go get Abby Stone's autograph right now until I'm like, hi, Abby.
Yeah. And again, we have to remember that every department right now is really, really busy. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but we're all trying.
And, I know that you guys have enough organizational things to do, but I have one more. The whiteboard has all sorts of really good information, but I would love to have that either emailed to me or something. So I mean, for instance, if you have a 1 o'clock tour, of course, the one day that I had a 1 o'clock tour, I got here at 1:15.
Yeah. Here's the problem with that. We still have a huge issue with call-offs. And we get call-offs, it takes a lot of our time, both from staff and volunteers. We'll spend the whole day putting a schedule together. I got it now. This is a perfect schedule. And we come in at 8:30 and email, phone call, or whatever, and here we go, having to change the whole
Well,
thing.
if we can't get the schedule, because we do get the schedule when we come in, and I do try to be early now. But that extra information, like what's going on at DTA, I know that that changes too, but it would be awfully nice to get those a little bit earlier. I would love to frankly get it on paper so that I can pull it out and say, oh, at DTA today,
Here's the
Bring
one
a
thing
note card and write it down and put it in your.
Well,
that's what.
A lot of people do that too.
Yeah.
I understand what we're working on. We actually had this suggestion submitted by one of our volunteers, is to make a binder. I know we send out a lot of emails. I know it can be overwhelming. It's really not because she's like, no, it was Joanne Schuler.
Oh.
Oh, just Joanne. Okay. Okay, well, there was a suggestion for 2 Joannes. to make a binder and to have that right there by the behind the scenes binder, and that'll have the emails, the updates. We can put, what's going on at DTA by day. Obviously, it'll be subject to change based on availability, but that way they still have a baseline reference point. So we are working on putting that binder together.
And it is hard. I'm hesitant to do that. I think it's a great idea, and I like people to be, or work ahead or whatever, but we also sort of try to assess on a daily basis. I mean, we have a plan every day of what we're going to do at DTA. Right now, every plan costs us money because we still haven't figured out how to entice people to go over there without giving them something. So we sort of assess the day early in the morning, like, is this going to be a day that we do want to do this? I mean, it's planned, but if it ends up being a slow day, then we collectively say, well, let's not do it today. So it is really difficult. I know that adds a lot to you guys' plate because you're like, well, you want us to promote something and change it and this and that. But we can, at the end of the day, a lot of times we'll try to have the schedule for the next day up. That doesn't help for somebody that's only there once a week.
But to give it for example, the nice neat whiteboard that you see that has everything written, this is what it changes throughout the day. This is, because the minute we have it all written, next day we get a call, okay, boom, oh wait, we need someone else over at DTA right now, we got Amber over there, and it's changing literally every
every call off.
This was yesterday.
Sunday or Monday.
On a Monday,
Well, if we can do the schedule, if there is information like, what's going on at DTA, or, what the alert level is, or whatever it is, even if somebody could just sort of photograph the board and stick it on an email.
I'm just really afraid to do that because it does change.
Even the yellow, red will change in the middle.
You have no idea how.
We just do is implant a chip in each of us.
Right.
So
If you have an iPhone, I just take a picture of it when I come in, and that way I got it all day right there.
But she's saying she wants to know beforehand so that she can prepare for her day the next day type thing.
Speaking of DTA, your idea of having a sanctuary converted, Lucas is so popular, and that's something that could be yours, right? DTA is Lucas, nobody else does, or Pelican,
We're having some issues
children
with
are
that.
just running in, and the first thing when they see that picture of Lucas, and they're like,
Well, first of all, the Rufus that we would bring over is mean. So
and that's funny too. Yeah, but just tell them.
Evil Rufus.
yeah,
Evil twin.
and they're so busy right now that we're having trouble getting a hold of them because they're in their spring break and they're a nonprofit like we are, but we're still trying to work that out. But yeah, I think the Pelican idea will be huge.
And that's something that you could only have like hire one.
To hire a Pelican.
Brian, can you look at
I'll be right back.
So you're gonna Pelican.
Okay.
The brown ones don't work.
Good luck.
That's all right.
The thing with the scavenger hunt today, like we only gave out the one big prize. Those kids ran around for an hour and a half.
We did not just give out one big prize.
Okay.
We did not. Because when I pull out the raffle ticket, I ask several questions off the scavenger hunt. I don't know if you were there for that.
I wasn't there for
Okay,
that.
but that doesn't happen. I know that those kids work
I
hard.
had kids like in tears, and I'm like, well, here's a sticker, like.
Don't you tell them? Toughen up.
I know we're supposed to be nice.
What did I say? Thank you. Every single thing we give us costs money. Remember, we are nonprofit. Why are we having them go do a scavenger hunt? Get them out of here and over there.
Let's get the generation where everybody gets a trophy.
See, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are winners. There are
losers like you. But I understand what you're saying. We want to accommodate those.
But when we do that big drawing, like I got up with the squawk box on a little stool, I did like 4 or 5 questions from the scavenger hunt. You were the one that was helping me. And we would point at someone and they got a sticker. And then we did the big drawing. So it was a little bit of build up before the big drawing.
Okay.
But I mean, there were like 30 or 40 kids. So not everybody's going to get a sticker.
Awesome. Yeah.
Not everybody's going to get a prize.
And we do understand what you're saying, Kelly. And I wish we did have the money. And that comes out of our department too. We got to buy rolls of stickers.
Oh, trust me, I know. I don't think they should all get it, but I'm saying, like, it seems like a couple more since we had such a huge crowd of kids doing
And Elena
maybe
knows
just
to
a
do that
couple
as well.
more
It's a good
kids
idea.
should have got like a sticker.
In 14th place we have.
Yeah. Maybe one idea, do something that's cheap. Everybody that participates could get a piece of paper that had the winter, they can color winter or whatever. Now it's, you know what I mean?
Oh, like a
It's
coloring
page from
page.
color.
Certificate.
A coloring pages with dolphin facts.
Or a stamp.
And
Can you tell
Or
them
nothing.
life is an adventure, not a destination?
Maybe something like an business development to provide stickers as a,
You didn't just go there. I don't even know.
Yeah, and.
You mean have it sponsored?
yeah, sponsored, like a sticker sponsored by.
That's a great, by Bright
Yeah,
House.
you get
Bright
on,
House
you get on
loves
that,
us.
David.
Right.
We probably need to cut at this point. And again, please remember, David has the feedback, little button on the, website. I'm sorry, my head's starting down. On the website, that if you guys have questions, comments, responses, of course you can always come to me, but when you go home, oh, you know, I thought of this, or oh, I thought of that, and it goes straight to David Kinney, and then he's.
Right to my spam
Is
folder.
that the noise of it?
He's.
What's it sound like again? And hang up your phone, what does that sound like?
At Christmas, the lines were so big that you had suggested that we say to people that they go over to DTA to get the tickets and come back. Okay? And I would admit to actually making that announcement today, when I was on the Sport Box,
What's your fault?
that those people over there should get on the bus or the trolley, go over there, be quicker to come back. So I did say that.
Oh, my goodness
Okay.
sakes, because
Thank you
And
so
here's-
much for that
well,
one.
today was the
Jay.
first day that people actually listened, because we couldn't get anybody to go over
But it took
there.
an
So we
hour
resorted,
to wait
but
for
today's the first day. We would beg people, and they were like, not going. So we tried everything. Seriously, they're giving away free something. I mean, we were doing everything we could to get them to go over there. Now we're realizing, and again, we're evolving. I mean, we now have a Dolphin Tale movie theater. We now have winter stuff. So we have to try things, and sometimes they work and then end up not working because things have
It
changed.
didn't help that the trolley broke down the bridge.
No, it didn't. And then we had like people waiting for over an hour.
And that's why communication is important in regular meetings, and for you new people, we try to have regular hospitality meetings so we know that's not working anymore.
Who do we call to get another trolley when we see that there's a massive line for the trolley? Who do we
Me,
call?
or Maddie, or David, or
Right.
Brian, or Elena. And then,
And we had.
and know that an extra trolley costs a lot of money, as Tom can tell us, but we want to get them.
But you had to have it today.
We did, but just
Frank
remember.
called for 2 extra trolleys today, just because of DTA.
I mean, we'll do it. We don't mind pulling the trigger, but just remember, it's not like, well, 3 people are ready, how many? Let's go order another trolley. I mean, make sure that
Well, the
it's
other day the
legitimate.
line was right back out. It's like,
I know, yeah.
Massive.
Something that I was going to tell you too is that we did get a lot of complaints at DTA about our line was very nicely formed and everybody was following directions over at DTA. The line over here, people were shoving and pushing and
We're getting a lot of
freaking
that
out.
now.
So like the trolley
who
might
was
be
it
a
that-
place.
Did you come to me and ask for
The
Dolphin
trolley
today
line
because some
was
little girl got shoved?
chaos.
We said this earlier, our audience has changed, everyone, really, and my team didn't want me to say this, but I think there's a lot of people out there that just come to see a freak show. Let's go see the freaky dolphin. And it's not the people of yesterday that cared about, you know, what we do and our mission, and they wanted to come and learn. We still have it. Every once in a while I'll get somebody to pull me aside and say, thank you guys for letting me, really. But mostly we're getting the pushing and the shoving and the, I mean, we've had 2 instances where
idiots today, like,
whoa.
I think we really appreciated where we were, that there was
The
a line
organization
formed,
of
it
it.
was organized, and they said, and I can't tell you, I had 50 different parties that said that down there, they're just pushing each other out of the way and trampling over everybody to get on the trolleys, and there's no organization. That's exactly what they said.
Yep. And so now that you said that, guess who's going to be in charge of trolley line? You think I'm kidding?
I saw it this morning.
Every time something's identified, it's him.
And so it was great, it was great, she brought out that little separation things, and
Yeah, the stanchion.
Thank you guys so much, and like I said, you guys do awesome work, and we'll just keep on adjusting as we go and make it happen and get through spring break and then start thinking about summer.
Yay!
Did you want to say something? Oh.
He does, but he's not.
So should I go like this?
Break.
That's it.
Yes.
That's a wrap. And see.